All right, beautiful. Wow, another week in the green room.
Another week. But what a week last week.
It was.
That was an amazing week. So we're going to do a wrap-up of last week. For those who didn't see, you can go on Compassionate Cannabis or on my site on Facebook, and you can catch the live stream. We had an amazing panel.
I think it's on YouTube and everything too, right, Don?
YouTube,
Yeah,
Twitter,
everywhere.
Facebook, yep.
We got so much great feedback.
It was an honor to have
panel.
that guest panel, Ruta.
Oh my God, they were amazing. And honestly, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. And I think Sean Shaw was probably the most impactful for me when he made a comment that regardless of like who your family is, what your parents do for a living, what your education level is, when you leave your door, you leave as a black person entering the street. And I thought that was so powerful. And I'm like, you know what? I never thought about it that way. And
right.
and
well, what he
we're
said
not
was
faced with that, so.
his dad gave him the talk in a three-piece suit.
Yeah.
Because his father was, of course, the first and only Chief Justice of the Florida Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So just that unique perspective. I was actually trying to tweeze a couple stories out of Sean. You can only imagine the stories that must have been told in that
But
home.
you know what? Our entire panel.
Well, Kelly King, also Dr. Kelly King, I hope she's watching this morning. I think she's off this week. You know, she works nights in the hospital as a hospitalist, still on the front lines as well as maintaining her cannabis practice. What I loved about what Kelly said was that empowering, blacks in ownership of their own business. And of course, she owns her own clinic, working her behind off to do that. You know, people think us cannabis clinics are all sitting there, kind of, surfing on the big wave of cannabis. And it's not true. You have to really work hard to establish a cannabis practice.
You do. Any business.
But also her
Cannabis,
grandfather was an unbelievable activist in Nashville, Tennessee. The
We had
Enix
some heavy
family.
hitters, let me tell
Carlos
you.
Guillermo Smith, of course. Reggie Williams. And I thought what Reggie said was interesting also. And the reason I wanted to have Reggie on there specifically was from two angles. One was from the athletic angle. Everybody, did you notice the NFL, has reversed its stance now, and Roger Goodell apologized to the players.
And look at NASCAR.
And NASCAR took away the Confederate flag.
Yes.
Listen, that's going to be an interesting one, because to me, they really can't control the entire venue, I think, and it's going to be interesting to see if there's still a lot of tailgating, for example, with representations. It's just going to be interesting. But we need to stop dividing the country. And I know that's how you started out, Ruta, in the panel discussion somebody, discussed the labeling. But I wanted to get back to Reggie Williams for a second because, athletically, was one thing, but I wanted to have another gray hair on the panel like myself because, Sean, of course, Ed
James.
Ed James was fantastic, brought up the gun possession issue for black Americans, of course, concealed carry. I've always thought of it more as a white Yahoo, a type of,
It's amazing. There's so many angles that we don't think about.
But Reggie, just getting back, you talked about the Black Panthers, right? And Huey Newton.
And Black Panthers actually were at the funeral. They were the guards.
Just interesting that we kind of look, I think, at Americans of color as just one demographic, but they're really not. They're also, they have activists and they have pacifists and they have people in the middle, so it's so interesting. But what I do know is we need to continue to unite, right, as one to demand fairness. Black Lives Matter. We need to say it.
Well, I think the other thing, this is a pet peeve of mine personally. Whoever creates all the stupid applications for people, stop labeling black, Asian, white, Caucasian. Who cares? You're a person. Just fill out the damn application. Why do you have to be this group, that group, this group? They're making a division psychologically. Are you white? Are you Caucasian? Are you Native American? Are you African American? Are you this? And it's like, why?
It's
fill
crazy.
out the damn application and you are who you are. And that was one of our things that we were talking about even last week. It's like, why do you have to say you're African American? Why do you have to say you're Asian? Why? You're a person. That's it.
It is.
Like
And
that.
listen, when kids go to pre-K or find their first friend or this or that, children do not see race ever.
They'll sit and they'll play with the
I know.
crayons and they're going to draw.
know.
They're not going to say, oh, you're black, you're white,
Yeah.
you're this. They all sit and they play
I
blocks
know.
and they'll whack each other, then they'll hug each other, and it's all good.
The most beautiful images are children of all races running together and
Yes.
hugging as one. And
And it's
so that to me
normal.
means that that type of, racism thought coming, that's all taught. That's all
It's
from
all
societal and parental. And to me, it's shameful that that's just continued. And I think, quite frankly, it's so difficult to change fundamentally because it has to go to the heart of each individual person.
But how do you get to like?
It's almost like I want to have a
parent?
test
How
if
do
you have a child, okay? You have to prove that you're not going to pass racism onto your child or something like that. Seriously.
I know, but how do you do that? It's
You know how you do it? You do it by a continued societal, kind of like the building of the cannabis wall, so to speak. It's each individual and one by one, year by year.
It is. But look, we're talking hundreds of years.
It is. It is. And you would think the passing of the guard would have solved this, which is why I say it's so difficult to
But
to do.
and it crisscrosses generationally, it crisscrosses even race. Like, I mean, if you take a look, President Obama, you would have thought racism would have.
I had the same thought this morning, Ruta. I really did.
It didn't. And it's like, come on, what is it gonna take?
I know.
What will it take?
That's why this may be a seminal moment. And I say it once again, similar to the cannabis world. We have to look at 2020 as 2020, not 1980. In 1980, we didn't have cell phones. When a cop would kill a black man, like what happened, in Minneapolis, we didn't see it. We didn't hear it. Okay? We've seen it now from 3 or 4 different angles, including the brave 17-year-old who sat there with it right there. As people said, you're killing that man. So I think it's too raw. And I think the same thing about cannabis to a certain extent. That what we all know now in 2020 is that it's too raw. People are dying of narcotics, of alcohol, of tobacco, of gun violence, of depression.
Because of depression.
All of it. So that doesn't mean that cannabis solves these problems, but it's a part of 2020 society that needs to be treated as 2020. And that's what I preach to people now as a doctor. That's my responsibility. But also my responsibility is to continue to have panels and thought, discussions. And I hope that our panelists will join us again. And I think maybe once a month if we can,
I would love that panel once a month. Like, what I liked even like with Carlos, we brought up and we discussed the barriers of entry into cannabis because of cost prohibitions.
Of course.
And it discriminates against minorities. It discriminates against lower income people. And then you get into that vicious circle. Well, they have possession of illegal marijuana. Really? Well, you're not letting them have access because you're making it so cost prohibitive.
Listen, the Leafly article that Kelly King posted that I shared last week before the panel, absolutely, people, go back and look at it. It'll be on my page, but I think it's on the clinic's page too. But just an unbelievable article. And that it really crystallized an amorphous thing to me that I knew that cannabis had always been used for their war, against blacks, Hispanics,
well, yeah, because
hippies.
if you look at the rate of incarceration, take away their voting rights, take away their ability to live and get rent because now they have a criminal record. It just created this whole thing. And if you look at cannabis as itself, this is a lot of the root cause. If you look at the incarceration rates, it's for minor possession.
It is, and it supports an entire prison industrial complex. It also supports an entire rehab world where you get stopped for a minor traffic offense with cannabis in your car. You're not even impaired, but then once you get a possession, and then you have to go through a program to treat your impairment from your cannabis. When in fact these are self-medicators, right? Who are practicing against the law, which we try to solve. It's interesting too. I want to go back to the Carlos comments about finances. Listen, everybody, we know that we're a cannabis clinic that charges money for people to see us. We know that, and unfortunately, insurance doesn't cover it. But what we like to deliver is consistent service and education to our patients with every single visit. And I think it's the consistency of our practice is that really what our patients have come to appreciate. We've been here for 3.5 years. Listen, I tell everybody, I want to be doing this for 32 years, like I did emergency medicine for 32 years. Then I can retire as 92-year-old medical cannabis clinician emeritus.
And you're still going to have the same energy level as
yes.
today, and I know about that.
Sure. So my point is that we're here, we're going to be here, we're going to fight those battles. I remind everybody.
Our main purpose is to fight for patients.
It is. We need job protections. Okay, we need job protections. We need nursing home access.
We need ability to have and carry and conceal weapons and not lose your license.
Ruta, that's why you and I are you and I. That's why this is the green room, because I was just leading to that. What would enhance the numbers in the cannabis program overnight would be the solving of the concealed carry issue.
It would. And why is it not brought up, and why did the legislators turn a blind eye to it? I don't understand that.
They're so willing to look at gun, and violence issues in in the schools and this and that and whatever with disdain, quite frankly, in my opinion.
It's amazing. They're okay with having teachers be armed in the schools of Florida, yet if you carry a medical cannabis card, you're prohibited from having a conceal and carry.
Are you allowed to have concealed carry in a bar?
Yeah.
Of course, yes.
No, actually, no. There's restrictions about bars.
Okay.
Just because of the
So you're supposed to leave them in your car?
Yeah, you're supposed to leave them in your car.
I got
it.
But
do people, who knows?
I don't know, but to me the mixing of guns and alcohol, of course, is, I tell my patients every day, I've never seen anybody in the ER beat up their partner after smoking a joint together. But I'll tell you, it's interesting too about cannabis smoke. So cannabis smoke has actually been used in police brutality cases in the past. That the brutality was caused, so to speak, because the officer was fearful of the effect of the cannabis smoke that they smelled coming out of the car, on the people in the car. And that added to their fear in what the encounter may be like.
But isn't it funny that the cannabis smoke enhanced that? Meanwhile, if the person's intoxicated with alcohol, they're like, oh, they're only drunk. The person that has the alcohol intoxication has a much greater attribute of actually becoming violent than the person with the marijuana smoke. So hello.
Well, I would
think
so.
They get? You would think, and
I'd like to think of the difference in intoxications. I say cannabis is a contemplative intoxication. It tends to slow people down.
I mean, nobody should be intoxicated.
Well, if not driving,
not driving with anything. I don't care what you take.
That's
even oxy. Yeah, that's what I have.
That's an obvious assumption. But the point is, cannabis slows you down, makes you think of a song you haven't thought of before. It may make you contemplate the red stop sign waiting to turn to a green stop sign. Once again, nobody should drive impaired. But the point is, you're going to get honked at from behind by the person saying, hey, why are you waiting for the stop sign to turn green? You're not going to drive 95 miles an hour going the wrong way down the freeway in general.
But again, and then to the comments of our panel last week, the chances are of an African American getting stopped is 9 times greater because of the color of their skin that they're going to get pulled over.
It's true. So, there's certain things that are systemic. It's interesting, too, Ruta, because I know you were struck, and let's get a little bit local here with, with Sarasota, because I know you were downtown the other evening and saw one of the protests. And let's discuss what's called the defunding of police departments. Listen, we all know we need safety officers out there, and we all know we need an active police department out there. But what I know from my 32 years in the ER, and I'm interested in your perspective on it, Ruta, is that really the police officers that I encountered were much more so than just police officers, because the social safety net of social work, right?
They are doing social work. They're doing domestic violence calls every
They're
single
doing a lot
day.
of counseling,
they have
a lot
counseling,
of social work.
Depression. People are calling suicidal. The
teenage, outreach
everything,
programs, everything.
I think, people put there's a lot of pressure on the police forces and the police officers. There really is. Like you said, it's not only are they trying to enforce laws, they have become social workers and at the forefront of that. And, at this march, I was at dinner, and these group of kids, it was a lot of students, they were chanting, hey, hey, ho, ho, Sarasota police have got to go.
Meanwhile, the police are accompanying them down the street,
is making sure they're safe.
Peaceful protest.
And my comment to those kids was, why don't you go register to vote? Be proactive on that. Do police have bad apples? Yeah, they do. Should there be more training on sensitivity, not doing racial profiling, and even religious, and all kinds of things? Yes, they need more training. Let's get to the.
Well, I think the 8 can't wait. Proposals that Sean came out
with
and reminded us of, and it's now posted. And I think those are just commonsensical. I think we need to refine the message. And listen, Ruta talking about voting. LeBron James this morning, and hey, LeBron James, Akron, Ohioan, like myself. left to go to the Lakers, of course. But anyway, listen, LeBron came out this morning very strong in his support of the voting.
The voting is
rights
what's gonna
and
make
the
change.
undercurrent that we need to take this activism and drive it to the polls.
We do,
Because that's
it-
where change is going to occur.
it is.
And local elections, right?
Oh my
Local
God,
elections.
it's not just president.
It's not.
You have to start with the
And we
city
could talk for
and
another 15 minutes on
yes,
that.
city, local commissioners.
Can anybody say straight jacket? Oh, no, let's not. No, I mean, it's crazy at all levels. But once again, we can't be divisive. We need to be uniting, and
It's
we need to
united,
vote.
But you have to vote, and the enthusiasm.
Georgia
of
was
these kids
terrible.
are-
It was crazy.
Are
A
you
great
kidding?
example.
Sarasota County, our numbers are horrible for voting. We do not vote. Yet we had hundreds of people protesting. If they put that same energy into politics, they will make change. Carrying a sign and yelling, okay, it makes you feel better for the moment, but is it going to change the legislation? No, the legislators change that. You have to change the legislators to get like-minded people into
And the local,
office and the local
the city
races.
council, the county commissioner, you
County
know,
commissioners.
such things.
Okay, you want more access to medical marijuana dispensaries. The county commissioners are the ones who say no. You want access. Say, I don't want those commissioners in anymore. Vote them out. You have the power. And they don't realize that it's on a local level.
Well, that's a softball well lobbed, Ruta.
Wasn't
You know, and no, you know, seriously, we have to remember, and that's why I think this may be a special time once again because of where we are. We have to use all the various social media for good
For
and for
good.
uniting, and that's why we were so proud to have offered last week's Zoom, and we're going to do it again.
We're gonna do it
believe
again,
me.
and we
if I
need
could get a
these-
panel half that good or that same
Oh my
panel.
God, I love that same panel. That
I know.
panel to me was.
But
just-
Sean's a busy guy, and Sean.
know,
Listen,
he
Sean
was
Shaw, and I hope he's watching this morning. But Sean, of course, has his radio show. I got to give a couple plugs because I told everybody, the hour went so fast last week,
It
just like
did,
this morning
and
went.
This morning goes
And
fast.
I felt bad also, Don.
We have to wrap it
Things
up.
happen so. I know things happen so fast. I want to offer condolences, of course, to the Floyd family. And even last week, I didn't have a chance to start how I kind of wanted to, but I think that's important too. And I want to make sure that we let everybody know that our mission here, and that's Ruta and I, and quite frankly, everybody, we have a fantastic zone here at Compassionate Cannabis
We do.
Clinic.
It's
because
very open-minded.
it is. No, we have an
very
easy
humble.
mission. We have an easy mission.
Make people feel better.
Right, and I don't want to put on a pink hat with ears or any of that, but we kind of feel like we do our own little women's march here every day. And I've said that for 3 years, and Ruta, since you've been here, I've had that philosophy.
No, we
you
get
can
to
only
fight
do what you can
small
do within
battles.
your zone.
Exactly. We have a perfect zone here. I love our zone.
We have a good
We
zone,
have
so
a
we're going to
good
continue
zone.
to try and bring the zone of peace, of healing, of continued discussion about common sense reforms
reforms.
for the 2020 world, that
Yes,
we live in,
absolutely.
and we're proud to do it. But yeah, if we can get half that panel, but
would love
Sean,
it.
I gotta give a big shout out. He's going to run again for something, we
I
shall
hope
see.
he does. And maybe we'll get Nikki on sometime. That would be great.
Holly and
Ooh,
Nikki
that would
and
be
Steph.
good.
But listen, Carlos Guillermo Smith is going to continue to be up there fighting,
All
hard
fights
for
for
us.
LGBT.
Reggie Williams wrote a book, everybody, so look that up. I don't have the name right in front of me, but Reggie, so appreciative of him being on.
Yeah.
And just to bring that back, he brought up once again the perspective of sometimes you got to protest hard, you got to fight. I am glad that all the looting and all that has stopped, has settled down a little
That
bit.
was so uncalled for.
It was, but I think it percolated things up to the point where we really saw the force that would be
And it
used
was a
by.
frustration, and it was
It was a
pure
frustration, and I
and
think
get
as
it.
Reggie reminded us, back in the '60s and all that, that's Spurs. So,
Yeah, no,
well,
just-
we hope nobody's,
And don't forget, we're still in a pandemic, so stay safe, everybody.
Of course, listen, the numbers are up. We can't
We are
ignore
up.
that.
Yeah.
Can't ignore it.
And hopefully next Thursday we won't have to start out.
Please wash your hands.
Right.
Mask
So everybody,
up if you're
be
out.
great, stay healthy, stay safe, and we will see you next
See you
Thursday
next
morning
Thursday
in the
morning
green room.
in the green room.